Bhaktir Naistiki Krishnaya Vasudevaya Devaki Nandanaya Cha Nanda Gopa Kumaraya Govindaya Namostute Namo Pankajanabhaya Namo Pankajamalini Namo Pankajanetraya Namaste Pankajale Krishna. We go to Shloka text number 30, Canto 8, Chapter 24. Nate Arvindaksha Padopasa Sarpanam Mrisha Bhavet Sarva Suhrat Priyatmana Yathe Taresham Pratak Atmanam Satam Adidrisho Yat Vapur Adbhutam Hina. Translation by His Divine Grace Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. O my Lord, possessing eyes like the petals of a lotus, the worship of the demigods who are in the bodily concept of life is fruitless in all respects. But because you are the supreme friend and dearmost super soul of everyone, worship of your lotus feet is never useless. You have therefore manifested your form as a fish. Purport: the demigods like Indra, Chandra, and Surya are ordinary living entities who are differentiated parts and parcels of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The Lord expands himself through the living beings, Nityo, Nityanam, Nityanam, Chetanas, Chetanam. His personal Vishnu Tattva forms, which are all spiritual, are called Swamsha, and the living entities who are differentiated parts are called Vibhinnamsha. Some of the Vibhinnamsha forms are spiritual, and some are a combination of matter and spirit. The conditioned souls in the material world are different from their external bodies made of material energy. Thus, the demigods living in the upper planetary systems and the living entities living in the lower planetary system are of the same nature. Nonetheless, those living as human beings on this planet are sometimes attracted to worshipping the demigods in the higher planetary systems. Such worship is temporary, as the human beings in this planet have to change their bodies. Taha tatha dehantara prapti. The living entities known as Indra, Chandra, Varuna, and so on will also have to change their bodies in due course of time. As stated in Bhagavad Gita, Antavat tu phalam tesham tad bhavati alpamedasam. Men of small intelligence worship the demigods, and their fruits are limited and temporary. Kamaistaistar hrita jnana prapadyante anya devata. Those who do not know the position of the demigods are inclined to worship the demigods for some material purpose. But the results of such worship are never permanent. Consequently, here it is said, Yathe taresham pratak atmanam satam pado pasarpanam brisha bhave. In other words, if one is to worship someone else, he must worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Then his worship will never be fruitless. Swalpamapi asya dharmasya trayate mahatod bhayat. Even a slight attempt to worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead is a permanent asset. Therefore, as recommended in Srimad Bhagavatam, Tyaktva Swadharma Charanambujam Hare, one should take to the worship of the lotus feet of Hari, even if this means giving up the so-called occupational duty assigned because of the particular body one has accepted. Even if this means giving up the so-called occupational duty assigned because of the particular body one has accepted. Because worship in terms of the body is temporary. It does not bear any permanent fruit. But worship of the Supreme Personality of Godhead gives immense benefit. Hare Krishna. Om Ajnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Sri Chaitanya Mano Vistam Sri Chaitanya Mano Vistam Sapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Guru Vaishnavamsha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamsha Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Nityanamini Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharini Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pashyatya Deshtarini Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Nityanamini Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharini Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshtarini Pancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhyev cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Vasadi Gaura Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Krishna. So today we are going to discuss about Lord Mastya, the fish incarnation. First of all, I seek the blessings of all Vaishnavas because my capacity to speak is limited. It is only because your mercy I'll be able to speak something. So let me thank you for being present in today's class. So last time we discussed about Lord Vamandev. And after hearing this katha of Lord Vamandev, Parikshit Maharaj became very inquisitive. He wanted to hear about the first incarnation of the Lord, that is Matsya, the fish incarnation. This is described in chapter 24, canto 8, and it also describes the saving of Maharaja Satyavrata from an inundation. So once at the end of the previous kalpa, a demon named Hayagriva wanted to take the Vedic knowledge away from Brahma at the time of annihilation. Now Hayagriva, we should understand, there is also the incarnation of Lord. This is different from that. This is demon Hayagriva. Rama Krishna Hayagriva. We come across this in one of the songs, Vishavari. Yeah. So this demon is different. Therefore, the Supreme Personality of Godhead took the incarnation of a fish at the beginning of the period of Swayambhuva Manu and saved the Vedas. Parikshit Maharaj was keen to know the purpose of this incarnation. During the reign of Chakshusha Manu, there was a king named Satyavrata, who was a great pious ruler in Dravida Desh. To save him, the Lord appeared as a fish incarnation for a second time. First time he came to save the Vedas, which was being stolen by demon Hayagriva. And second time he came to favor the ruler called Satyavrata. This is one of the 10 original incarnation of the Lord, as you have seen Dashavatara. So Mastya Avataar is one of them. So King Satyavrata later became the son of the sun god and was known as Shraddha Deva. He was established as Manu by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Because of being the son of Vivaswan, this Manu is known as Vaivasvata Manu. So he will be known as Vaivasvata Manu later. So Shukadeva Goswami said, O king, for the sake of protecting the cows, Brahmanas, demigods, devotees, the Vedic literature, religious principles, and principles to fulfill the purpose of life, and the Supreme Lord accepts the form of different forms of incarnations. He is given different reasons why he comes as in different incarnations. So here Prabhupada comments, the Lord is described as Go Brahmana Hitayacha. When Lord appeared, he purposefully became a cowherd boy and showed personally how to protect cows. He showed respect to Sudama Viprama, a real Brahmana. So Go Brahmana Hitayacha. So from the Lord's personal activities, human society should learn how to give protection specifically to Brahmanas and cows. Then the protection of religious principles, fulfillment of the aim of life, and protection of Vedic knowledge can be achieved just merely by doing this cow protection and protection of Brahmanas. So other things can be taken care of. So Shukadeva Goswami continued, at the end of the past millennium, at the end of Brahma's day, when Brahma felt sleepy and desired to lie down, annihilation took place. And the three worlds were covered by water of the ocean. We know Brahma's day is 1,000 yuga cycles. All 4 yugas, 1,000 times, 1,000 cycles. Similarly, his night is of same duration. So, but while he was feeling sleepy and desired to lie down, the Vedas were emanating from his mouth. And the great demon named Hayagriva stole the Vedic knowledge. Now, Vedas is not stolen in a gross form. It's not like bank robbery or anything like that. So it is in a subtle form. So Vedas came out means it came out in a subtle form. So, and then there are different methods of stealing. Today, there are so many hackers, cyber hackers. So like that. So this is stolen in a very subtle form. So understanding the acts of great demon Hayagriva, the Supreme Personality of Godhead assumed the form of a fish and saved the Vedas by killing the demon. Because everything was inundated by water, to save the Vedas, it was necessary for the Lord to assume the form of a fish. So Lord assumed the form of a fish to save the Vedas at the beginning of Swayambhuva Manu, Manvantara. And at the end of the Chakshasha Manvantara, the Lord again assumed the form of a fish just to favor the great king named Satyavrata, as I said earlier. As there were two incarnations of Varaha, there were also two incarnations of fish. Once to kill demon Hayagriva and the other to show favor to King Satyavrata. So one day, while King Satyavrata was performing austerities, he was a very pious ruler, very pious king. And when he was performing austerities by offering water on the bank of the river Kutamala, a small fish appeared in the water in his palms. In his cupped form, a small fish entered. So as a reflex reaction, he threw the fish out of his hand, or in fact, along with the water. He threw the fish into the water along, which was in his palm. So he did not think twice before throwing it. He said, how can a fish be in my palm? I am just here to offer arghya. So moment he saw the fish, he just threw it out. So the fish, in a very appealing voice, said to the king, who was very merciful, he said, why are you throwing me in the water of the river where there are other aquatics that can kill me? I am very much afraid of them. So in the Matsya Purana, it is said that the Supreme Personality of Godhead possesses unlimited potency. Nonetheless, in his pastime, in the form of fish, he begged for protection from King Satyavrata. Of course, Satyavrata did not know that this fish is actually Supreme Personality of Godhead. So, to please himself, King Satyavrata, not knowing that the fish was the Supreme Personality of Godhead, decided with great pleasure to give fish the protection. Since he took pride in protecting the fish, he was very pleased. Prabhupada writes here that such service is called Ajnata Sukriti. Service rendered to the Supreme Lord, knowingly or unknowingly, never goes in vain. But here in this case, he was rendering service to the Supreme Lord without knowing him, that he was the Supreme Lord. So he was earning Ajnata Sukriti because of that. See, the merciful king, being moved by the pitiable words of the fish, placed the fish in a water jug, Kamandalo, that he had brought, and brought him to his own residence, own palace. But at night, the fish grew so much that he could not move his body comfortably in the water pot. So then he spoke to the king and said, I do not like living in this water pot with such a great difficulty. Therefore, please find some better place for me, maybe a better reservoir of water where I can live comfortably. Then the king thought he should take the fish out, and then he took the fish out from the water pot, and he took and threw the fish into a large well. So, but within a moment, the fish developed the length of 3 cubits. 1 cubit, it is said, is 18 inches. So 3 cubits means almost 54 plus its own 2-3 inches length, 57. So about 4.5, 5 feet. So the fish then told the king, my dear king, this reservoir is not at all fit for me, for my happy residence. So please give me a more extensive pool of water for I have taken shelter of you. No, the happy residence. So we all want to be happy. So we want comfortable place to live. So initially, before marriage, we try to live in a small place, maybe one room itself. When he gets married, he goes for a one-room kitchen. Then when he gets a child, he wants to have one bedroom, hall and kitchen. So like that, our demands keep increasing. So we are never comfortable with the type of residence that we have or type of situations we are in. So we would like to have more and more. The fish also wanted to be more comfortable. So the king took the fish from the well and threw him in a lake. But the fish then assumed a gigantic form exceeding the extent of water. So the fish then said, "O king, I'm a large aquatic and this water is not at all suitable for me. Now please find some other way to save me. It would be better if you put me in a water lake that will never reduce, that will never dry up." So when thus requested, King Satyavrata took the fish to the largest reservoir available in the kingdom. But when he was, that also proved insufficient, the king at last threw the gigantic fish into the ocean. While being thrown into the ocean, the fish said to the king, "Oh king, in this water there are very powerful and dangerous sharks that will eat me up. Therefore, you should not throw me in this." But by that time he had already thrown. So the king realized, after hearing these sweet words from the fish, the Supreme Lord, he realized that this fish is not an ordinary fish. It must be Supreme Personality of Godhead. And being very bewildered, he asked him, "Who are you? Who are you, sir? You simply bewilder us. In one day, you have expanded yourself for hundreds of miles, covering the water of river and ocean. Before this, I had never seen or heard of such a aquatic animal." So he says, "My Lord, you are certainly the inexhaustible Supreme Personality of Godhead, Narayana, Sri Hari. It is to show your mercy to the living entities that you have now assumed the form of a fish. Let me offer my respectful obeisance to you." So he started offering prayers. He said, "All your pastimes and incarnations certainly appear for the welfare of the living entities. Therefore, my Lord, I wish to know the purpose for which you have assumed this form of a fish." When King Satyavrata spoke in this way, the Supreme Lord responded. So this is the verse we read from Srimad Bhagavatam. He said, "O king, on the seventh day from today, the three worlds, namely Bhuloka, Bhurloka, and Swarloka, will all merge into the water of inundation. When all the three worlds merge into water, a large boat sent by me will appear before you." He was giving instructions. Now that Satyavrata has come to know that he is the Supreme Personality of Godhead and he has come to save him, favor him. So he started giving instructions. Thereafter, he said, you shall collect all types of herbs and seeds and load them on that great boat. Then accompanied by the Sapta Rishis, 7 Rishis, and surrounded by all kinds of living entities, you shall get aboard that boat, get into the boat, and without moroseness, without fear, you shall easily travel with your companions on the ocean of inundation. So without, we should not fear of anything. You should not be morose. You should happily get into the boat. So then as the boat is tossed about by the powerful winds, attach the vessel to my horn by means of a great serpent Vasuki. And thus I shall I shall be present by your side and pulling the boat myself and all the rishis in it. I shall travel in the water of devastation. I shall keep on traveling until the night of Lord Brahma's slumber is over. So Prabhupada gives some explanation here. It says that this particular devastation took place not during the night of Brahma, but during his day. It was during the time of Chakshusha Manu, one of the 14 Manus during Brahma's day. So Srila Vishnu Chakravarti Thakura also says that Brahma felt sleepy for a short time by the supreme will of the Lord. So it was not during night, it was during daytime. Now here, the Lord continues. He says, you will be thoroughly advised and favored by me, and because of your inquiries, everything about my glories will be manifest in your heart. Thus, you will know everything about me, the Supreme Personality of God. That which is revealed to one who fully surrenders is different from that is revealed to one who surrenders partially. So if you surrender to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, everything will be revealed. We are not fully surrendered, so we come to know only partially, only small pieces, bits and pieces. So Prabhupada says in Bhagavad Gita 15.15, Sarvasya chaham hradi sannivisto matta smratir jnanam abhahanam cha. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, Paramatma, is situated in everybody's heart. And from him comes remembrance, knowledge, and forgetfulness. Lord reveals himself in proportion to one surrender to him. Ye yatha mam prapadyante tam sathaiva jamyam. So the conditioned soul surrenders to the laws of nature in material existence. But when one is fully surrendered to the Lord, material nature does not act upon him, and he will have no fear of the modes of material nature. So we are all subjugated to the modes of material nature. So we work under the influence of material nature. But once you are fully surrendered, then we don't work under the influence of material nature. It does not act upon us. So the Lord is the supreme purifier. Param Brahma, Param Dhama, Pavitram Paramam Bhavan. Arjuna says after hearing Bhagavad Gita. The more one is purified and the more he wants to know about the Supreme, the more Lord reveals to him. Lord destroys the darkness born out of ignorance with the shining lamp of knowledge. This is what is said in Bhagavad Gita 10.11. So now the Satyavrata now Satyavrata prepares to receive the Lord, because he has been instructed to wait for 7 days. So after this, instructing the king, the Lord disappears, and King Satyavrata began to wait for the time of which the Lord had instructed. So after spreading kusha grass with its tips pointing to the east, and he himself sitting facing the northeast, sat down on the grass and began meditating upon the Supreme Lord, Vishnu, who had assumed the form of fish. So he did not keep quiet. So for 7 days, he started meditating on the Supreme Lord in the form of fish. Thereafter, gigantic clouds appeared, and they started pouring incessant rains that swelled the ocean more and more. Thus, the ocean began to overflow into the land and inundate the entire world. And as he was meditating, Satyavrata saw a boat coming near him, and he immediately collected the herbs and creepers, and accompanied by the 7 sages, saintly Brahmanas, he boarded the boat. Saintly Brahmanas advised him to meditate upon the Lord Keshava and assured him that the Lord will save us from the impending danger. So as the king was meditating upon the Supreme Lord, a large golden fish appeared in the ocean of inundation. The fish had 1 horn and was 8 million miles long. 8 million miles. Following the instruction of the Lord, the king anchored the boat to the fish's horn with the help of Vasuki as a rope, and thus being satisfied, he began offering prayers to the Lord. So there are quite a few prayers. We can't go through all that. Looking 1 or 2, we can probably think. So the king said, I accept that Supreme Personality of Godhead as the Supreme Spiritual Master. And may my Supreme Spiritual Master cut the knots of false desires from the core of my heart. So this is the second prayer. Third, he said, I wish to take shelter of your lotus feet because of the mercy that demigods and all others can offer is not equal to even 1,000 of yours. So I want to take shelter of yours. So other demigods or it may be sages cannot give that mercy. Not even 1/10,000 of yours. So then Sukadeva Goswami continued. He said, when Satyavrata had thus prayed to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who had assumed the form of a fish, the Lord, while moving in the water of inundation, explained to him the absolute truth. He explained the spiritual science known as Sankhya Yoga, the science by which one distinguishes between matter and spirit. In other words, Bhakti Yoga. So while sitting in the boat, King Satyavrata, accompanied by great saintly persons, so it was all night. It was only getting illuminated by the light provided by the saintly persons. So he listened to the instructions of the Supreme Lord in regard to the self-realization. Thus the king and the sages had no doubt about the absolute truth. What is absolute truth? And who is he, his powers, and how his protection comes to all of us, and so many other things. So at the end of the last inundation, during the period of Swayambhuva Manu, the Supreme Personality of Godhead had killed demon named Hayagriva, as we discussed, and delivered the Vedic literatures to Lord Brahma when Lord Brahma woke from his sleep. But this King Satyavrata was favored with all Vedic knowledge in this incarnation by the mercy of Lord. And in this period, he has now taken birth as Vaivasvata Manu, the son of Sun God. So when Shakshusha Manvantara ended, the period of Vaivasvata Manu began. By the grace of Lord Vishnu, Satyavrata received instructions from the second fish incarnation and was thus enlightened in all spiritual matters, spiritual knowledge. The story of King Satyavrata and the fish incarnation of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Vishnu, is a great transcendental narration. It said, anyone who hears it is delivered from the reactions of sinful life. One who narrates it will also have all ambitions fulfilled, all ambitions fulfilled, and will undoubtedly return home back to God. So this is a brief narration that I try to collect and give. So so anyone who hears it is delivered from the reactions of sinful life, and one who narrates also will have all his ambitions fulfilled. So it's very, very, very great thing for all of us, and we will also undoubtedly return home back to Godhead. So Sukadeva Goswami concludes saying, I offer my respectful obeisances to the Supreme Lord, who pretended to be a gigantic fish, who restored the Vedic literature to Lord Brahma, and who explained the essence of Vedic literature to King Satyavrata and the great saintly persons. The purpose of the Vedas is to show Krishna, it is Vedasya Sarver Aham Eva Vedya. So, sir, I have picked up some points to ponder as usual after the class of the short story that we discussed. First of all, Parikshit Maharaja's enthusiasm and eagerness to listen, because immediately after hearing Vaman Deva's pastime, he did not want to waste time. He simply wanted to listen to the story of Mastya. Parikshit Maharaj has been constantly hearing days and nights. Katha actually continuously heard for 7 days and 7 nights, without food, without water. And after hearing the Vaman Avatar, he wanted to hear about Mastya Avatar. And the Lord like this one after the other, and he wanted to hear the story one after the other, because he knew he had very limited time at his disposal, and within that time he should make the best use of it, and he should hear as much of pastimes of the Lord as possible without any waste of time. And other things are less important for him. So King Satyavrata says, all your pastimes and incarnations certainly appear for the welfare of all living entities. Therefore, my Lord, I wish to know more about it. So he wished to know the purpose for which you have assumed the form of a fish. So Satyavrata was also very keen. So all activities of the Lord are eternally transcendental, and hearing about the pastimes of the Lord is auspicious for everyone, every time. So we may be hearing the stories from time to time. So it is very auspicious for us to hear again and again and purify ourselves. So this effort of mine is only mainly to purify myself and I have just jotted out some points from the Bhagavatam, and then I'm just narrating it to you. Nothing from my own knowledge. So, second point I thought is the Lord's incarnation. Spiritual entities are karmagrastas, and they have to keep taking birth in different species depending upon their karma. Supreme Lord descends, as stated in Bhagavad Gita, Yada Yadahi Dharmasya Glanir Bhavati Bharata Abhyuthanam Adharmasya Tadatmanam Srijamyaham. Whenever and wherever there is a decline in religious practice or descendant of Bharata and a predominant rise of a religion, at that time I descend myself. But why the Supreme Lord takes birth or descends himself? He comes because he wants to reciprocate with his devotees, like Yashoda and Nanda Maharaj. Killing of Kamsa was incidental. And there is a story of Akbar and Birbal. Akbar also asked the same question. Why your Lord is to come every time himself? Why can't he send somebody else? So Birbal thought for a while and then said, I must make a plan for this. So he created a statue which was resembling that of his son. He put it on a boat and asked the boatman to throw it into the water when Akbar was seeing it. So when Akbar saw his son, if he was resembling his son, he just threw his son, he thought, into the water. So Akbar got bewildered completely, and without wasting a moment, he jumped into the water to save his son. And then he realized that it was not his son, but it was only a statue. So he asked Birbal, what is this going on? He said, this is exactly the point that I wanted to make clear to you, that Lord loves everybody. Just as you love your son and he jumped into the water, Lord loves everybody and he wants to protect all his parts and parcels. And he comes to protect his parts and parcels every time himself. He may send sometimes somebody else, but many times he comes himself because he loves, he wants to reciprocate with his devotees. So Lord descends in so many ways. It could be Purushavatars, it could be Gunavatars, Leelavatars, and Manvantar Avataras, Shakti-Avesha-Avataras, etc. Lord can appear anytime, anywhere. He is Swarat. Suta Goswami says to sages assembled in Naimisharanya that incarnation of Lord are numerous, like rivulets joining the ocean. There are so many avatars that even Lord Ananta, so many tongues cannot describe fully. The third point I thought was the purpose of Lord incarnation as a fish. The Lord's activities are inconceivable to our limited thinking power. And Prabhupada says, Lord assumed the form of fish to save the Vedas in the beginning of Swayambhuva Manvantara. And at the end of Chakshusha Manvantara, Lord again assumed the form of fish just to favor the king named Satyavrata. So, because everything was inundated by water, it was necessary for the Lord to assume the form of a fish. So why fish? This question is answered here. So then the next point is, why Demon Hayagriva wanted to steal Vedic knowledge? What was he getting? Because they are all demons. What do they do with this Vedic knowledge? So, of course, there are not much explanation available in the Srimad Bhagavatam, but summarizing things, I thought there could be some small explanations. I thought there are two categories of people. One who are obedient to the scriptural injunctions, and the other who are not so obedient, but demonic in nature. And they are envious. So though every living entity is part and parcel of the Lord, the demonic people are pinpricks to the Lord. They want to change everything and make them topsy-turvy. Vedic culture is living according to scriptural injunctions, but the demonic culture is to mislead and change the Vedic culture. So there are examples like Hiranyakashipu. He subjugated everybody and to his authority. There is a case of Ravana who wanted to build a staircase to the heaven. And there was also Vishwamitra. Before becoming Vishwamitra, he was a Kshatriya king. And when he went to the ashram of Vasishtha Muni, he was treated well by Vasishtha Muni, but he was surprised how a Muni like Vasishtha can treat so many, my soldiers, me, a lot of people, and how could he take care of everybody? So he asked him, what is the secret? Then he said, my Kamadhenu, Nandini, is providing all that. So he wanted Nandini to be given to him. So he was envious. So he wanted to take the Nandini away, but then Vasishtha fought with him and got the Nandini back. He could not get it. So these are all the envious people, so they are demonic in nature. So what they wanted, Hayagriva stole because the Vedas were giving all these teachings to the first category of people that who are very spiritually minded, and then he did not want this category to develop. He wanted everybody to become demoniac in nature, so that there is no Vedic people, rather the people who wanted to who are obedient to the spiritual education, spiritual scriptures, spiritual injunctions. Yeah. Then the fifth point, I thought, I don't know, we don't have much time. Yeah, we have some time. King Satyavata's sacrifices. How he was doing sacrifices. King Satyavrata was a great devotee of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and he performed austerities by subsisting only on water. And Lord was very pleased with his austerities and wanted to give him protection and enjoy his pastimes in the water of inundation. So King Satyavata was given complete knowledge of the absolute truth, and later he was born as Shraddadeva, son of sun god, and then became Vaivasvata Manu. So he was a great devotee. And Satyavata, it is Prabhupada says sometimes, if you take pride in doing something, then if you're a king, then it is not right. Satyavata was thinking that he was giving protection to the small fish, which came into his cupped hands while offering argya to the Lord. So in this context, Prabhupada says, unless the king is able to protect the citizens, he cannot levy tax. A king must not levy tax on Brahmanas and Vaishnavas, and who are fully engaged in the Krishna consciousness. So it is the duty of the king to give protection. And by thinking that he is doing a favor on a fish by protecting it, the king did not perform his duty properly. Of course, later on, he did not think that he was protecting the fish. He was giving protection, and he was proud about it. He did not think so, because it kept on becoming bigger and bigger, and then he realized ultimately it's Supreme Lord, it's not the ordinary fish. Then he thought, as he has taken protection of me, it is my duty to protect. So the seventh point is, who is the real protector? Actually speaking, the Supreme Lord himself is a real protector, but he is seeking protection of the king only to see how kind the king was and only to give him the benefit of Ajnana Sukriti. So it is only for that purpose he was seeking protection. Similarly, you find in Damodar Leela also, Krishna is seeking protection from his mother when she was trying to bind him with ropes. So real protection is the protection by the Supreme Lord. Parents may be interested in saving a child. They may be prepared to spend a lot of money on his medication, surgery, etc. But unless the Supreme Lord allows that to happen, the money spent by them cannot save the child, or doctors cannot save the child. Supreme Lord is the supreme protector. The boat cannot save a drowning man. There has to be a mercy of the Supreme Lord. So then I thought the king's attitude. King was very tolerant. So he did not say to the fish that I have tolerated enough, now get lost. He kept on accommodating the fish from time to time, from water jug, from his water jug to the well to the bigger reservoir, and finally to the ocean. And surprised at the last stage that the fish had grown hundreds of miles in one day, and ultimately realized that the fish was in fact the Supreme Personality of Godhead, because he was quite tolerant right from the beginning. Many times we think that God has not revealed to us, despite the fact that we have been practicing Krishna consciousness for so many years, and God cannot be still attained. So here, Satyavrata could attain, but then how much austerity he had done. And it is not we who decide when we should, when the God should be revealed to us. God cannot be attained by our intelligence or by our willing. He is attained only by whom he thinks worthy. He means God. Only by whom he thinks worthy. King Satyavata was chosen by him as worthy to reveal himself. Then he revealed the purpose of his appearance. The last point that I have is Prabhupada's comparison of Guru with the Supreme Lord himself. See, the Lord is always busy helping the conditioned souls in many ways. The representative of the Supreme Personality of Godhead who acts to spread the Krishna consciousness is also guided by the Supreme Lord. Such a person may appear to be an ordinary human being, but because he acts on behalf of the Supreme Lord, the Supreme Spiritual Master, he is not to be neglected as ordinary. An Acharya who acts on behalf of the Supreme Lord should be understood as good as the Supreme Lord himself. So, Supreme Lord here comes as Satyavata's Guru, but Prabhupada explains how Guru is also to be taken as good as Supreme Lord. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. So, any questions? I'll be happy to attend to it to the extent